Hey, and welcome back to Shortcuts with Paul deMarco, accelerated guitar method. We've been really opening up the neck of the guitar a lot lately, and we're going to do more of that again today. We're going to talk about octave scales, and we're going to talk about soloing off a root note. So that's our first step. We're going to figure out how the root note benefits what we play. We've been basing it around the A minor pentatonic, so we'll start there. And we'll just talk about a few things that are going to help us with that. So, first of all, what's really important is that we find the root notes within the scale. So here's the scale. Now the root note in a chord or a scale is usually, if it's been played correctly, the first note that you play. So in the key of A here, we know that's an A because we tune the A string to that. So we know that is a root note, that is an A. So the first one we're going to play, the first root note that we're going to discover after this is 2 strings up and 2 frets forward. That is also A. Okay, so try and remember that rule. 2 strings up, 2 frets forward, it's going to be an A note, or it's going to be matching the note below. And the other one, which is an obvious one really, remember the top, the low E and the top string are the same note, so they're both E, E and E, which means if that is A, that too is A. So we now have 3 root notes within the scale that we've learned. Now the great thing about the guitar is that whatever shape I play from the root note, or from any note actually, I can repeat it in different octaves. So if I were to play the first 2 strings of the lowest 2 strings of a pentatonic scale, okay, now I apply my rule of 2 strings up, 2 frets forward. I play the same shape from here. Now, how is this beneficial? Well, you probably find through playing the pentatonic, you might end up playing the same phrases over and over again. Well, this just makes you think differently about the same notes. So we're not learning any new notes here. We're just approaching them a little bit differently, and that'll get you thinking differently. So, for example, you might not normally play this couple of strings of the pentatonic scale when you're soloing, because you're used to these notes in the middle. So it pushes you outside your comfort zone a little bit. So let's take a couple of phrases. So we go. So again, you approach things differently. You want to be able to bend, but things don't feel as comfortable to bend in. Now we just take that up an octave. So as you can see, I'm already playing different phrases to what you've heard me play before, just by focusing on that. So it does sound different. And then we also said that top string as well gives us an octave. Now obviously we can't go higher than the top string, but what we can do is remember we go. So it just gets us thinking a little bit differently. Now, here's the next great little bit of shortcut information. Wherever you find that A note, you can play the same shape. So we know that this string is an open A string. So I can play this shape in the open position as well. Now, first of all, notice this difference. Why play the same notes in a different place on the guitar? What's the point? Well, as you can already hear, there's a difference in tone. These notes, when they're fretted, sound a little bit more rounded, a little bit more warmth to them. Whereas when we play it open, It's a bit brighter because of the open strings, and it's just got a little bit more attack to it. So you may have a lick that goes, or maybe it's a riff that goes. But it just sounds a little bit woolly, and you may want to go. Or vice versa, you may prefer the sound of it here to the sound of it there. But what that means is basically anywhere you find an A note on this neck of the guitar, you can play that shape. So let's apply some rules we've already learnt. We know there's an octave 12 frets higher. So if I go, I can now come 12 frets higher, and we've already played that. I can now do it here, open string, 12 frets higher. Okay, now at the minute we're restricting it to the 2-string shape, simply because it makes it more simple, and it's clearer to sort of see at the moment. Okay, so far, I say to you, how many pentatonic scales, how many positions of the pentatonic scale do you know? And you could say, well, 1. Well, I'd say, well, this one, yeah? Okay, well, actually, you know a second one because you know the octave above. And then I'd say, well, actually, you know a third one because you know it in the open position, because it's off an A. Actually, you know 4 because you now also know the octave of that scale. Well, actually, you know 5 because you also know 2 strings up, 2 frets forward from your original root, and you've got 5. You've got it in the 5th position again. Now let's see. If I was to take that 12 frets higher, yeah, I can just about do it. So what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can just keep going. So everywhere you find that root note, you've got that group of notes. So we could actually apply. Now remember, here's a slight change in the rules. The B string, remember we tune it differently? We're 1 fret out. So if I want to find the octave from this note, I still go 2 strings up, but I actually go 3 frets forward. Okay? But the shape's the same. Which means I can go, let's take this phrase, just up and down the scale. Now, one thing we can do is we can actually play phrases within these group of notes. So we could go, or we can just use our pentatonic scale and remember that those notes are available. So we might want to go, so really, I'm expanding the scale that I already know just by simply remembering root note gives me the same group of notes that I can play along with. So you can try that in all different keys, anywhere you find a note on the neck of the guitar. Now you might say, well, does that mean I've got to learn all the notes on the neck of the guitar? Well, have we just done that? No, we've just remembered that A is here and it's 12 frets higher. We know that A is the open string and it's 12 frets higher. We know that the octave is 2 strings up, 2 frets forward, and 12 frets higher, and so on. So all these little rules actually teach you more than one thing along the way. So that's how you can open up the neck of the guitar. Have a little try at that, and then we're going to open up with some more octave-based scales. Okay, so the next part now, we're going to learn a new scale. Well, actually, we're just going to learn 2 strings of a new scale. We're going to do a scale called the A natural minor. Now, fortunately, it sits quite nicely in the A minor pentatonic. We're just going to add a couple of notes, and it's also symmetrical in the sense that it's the same on the 2 strings. So far, actually, we've got a different pattern on each string. Right, and all we're going to do is we're going to add. So at the minute we're using first finger, little finger, first finger, third finger. We're going to add our third finger and our little finger on both strings. So it's going to go, if we were to use finger numbers, we'd have finger 1, 3 and 4, and then we'd have 1, 3 and 4 on the next string. So just get used to that for a minute. Alternate pick it. Try and reverse. Try it up then down. Try some little group patterns of it. And have a little bit of fun with that and get used to it. You can also just add that to your pentatonic scale. You may recognise there's a note in that scale that gets landed on in the Stairway to Heaven solo. So you get this. That's it. So it's this note here. You know, so it comes out of it quite nicely. So there's your group of 6 notes, 3 notes per string. Now apply all the things that we just learned in the last clip. We can just jump an octave higher by going 12 frets. But quite nicely in this, what we're learning about today, is to just go 2 strings up, 2 frets forward. And then 2 strings up and 3 frets forward, remember, because of the B string. Now, I really like this because it opens up the neck for some nice fast legato runs. What is legato? Well, legato is where that you hammer on and pull off rather than pick the notes. So if I was to do it staccato, I'd go. But if I was to do it legato, I'd go. I'd probably pick each string though. So that gives us a little legato. So we can play around with that a little bit more than we would normally. So. So it's quite a lot of fun, that little natural minor shape. Now remember, everywhere you find a root note of A, you can play off it. So it just opens the neck a lot more, and you can try those different ideas. So use it on your octaves, and you can open up the neck. Here's a little extra bit actually. Do you remember we did the extended pentatonic? Well, if we add that extra note that we've just added there, but starting from here, we get a slightly different shape now. So each note's, we're kind of following the dots really. So we're in A, but we're playing the note just behind. Jump up an octave, jump up an octave again, this is really nice for some legato work. So we can play so we can kind of have a little bit of fun with that, and just move it around. So what I want you to do is just experiment with that, soloing off the root notes. Learn where all those root notes are. You don't have to learn the whole neck. You will be doing that through these different shortcuts. But what you do want to do is recognize the rules that you're learning. Octave rules are great, open strings are really good, things you learn from tuning, and just try and move around the neck trying to figure out those things. Now, just to illustrate this, I've got a little jam over a track that I'm going to put on now. It's a song by Blackwater Lake, which I wrote with Dave Young, and it's a track called What I Need. What I've done is I've taken the lead guitar off, and I'm just going to jam over it, and just jam along with me if you like. And I'm going to try and use some of those things that we did. Now, I do change key actually, it's in a different key. We've done everything in A, but this song is in the key of G. So all the things that we've learnt now are going back 2 frets. So here's a chance to experiment with that and try some ideas. But remember, you're now in a different key. You may have just got used to A and you're like, oh yeah, A, cool, I know where that is. Well, go back over this lesson and do all the things we've talked about, but in the key of G. Find your root notes, play your pentatonic shape over all those root notes, try the natural minor shape over all those root notes, and try that extended pentatonic over all those root notes, and just try and move them along. So remember, practice slowly and you'll progress faster. So remember that rule, and just have a little bit of fun with it really. So feel free to jam over the track and play along to it, and don't forget to check out the Blackwater Lake EP, Dirty Living, which that track is taken from, and just have fun with it. So until next time on Shortcuts, I shall see you, and keep playing, keep progressing, keep being creative with it, and just a little something else actually. Some people practice like once or twice a week for like 2 hours, 3 hours maybe, and they think they're doing themselves a favour. You're not. If you have time to practice for that length of time, brilliant, do it. But it's much better if you were to practice 5, 10, 15 minutes every day regularly than just for a couple of hours once or twice a week. It's the consistency that will help you develop. So it's much easier actually as well to find 10, 15 minutes a day, maybe even 5 minutes a day just to play, than it is to make an hour or two for a couple of times a week. If you can do a couple of hours practice in the week, brilliant, do that as well. But I would recommend that you practice for 10, 15 minutes or even 5 minutes if that's what you've got. First thing in the morning, maybe last thing at night, whenever you get a chance. But do that every single day. I promise you, you will progress much, much faster. So until next week, keep playing, keep enjoying, and I shall see you then. Thanks for listening.